The Toronto Raptors acquire Serge Ibaka for Terrance Ross and a first-round pick. Love the trade, but there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I want to break this trade down and what I think it means for the Raptors moving forward. A lot of this is going to just be, you may have, if you've been watching videos, you may have already heard a lot of this stuff. It's out there. I was going to wait to make a video, but I've watched what people have been saying, and I just can't. I need to break my silence. So, before this trade, it seemed to me that the Raptors were at a bit of a crossroads. You go one direction, it would be to keep your current core players together, your Lowry, DeRozan, Valanciunas, probably get into the playoffs as a lower seed because they're not playing very well right now compared to last season, and they're along with their core players, they've gotten younger and more inexperienced, and it takes time for those young players to develop. If you follow sports, you know that, okay? Then you go the other direction and do what the Raptors actually did and move Terrance Ross and a draft pick. And we know Terrance Ross was going to get moved anyway. The draft pick still ensures that the Raptors are going to have their own first-round pick because the pick they gave up was from the Clippers. And they acquire not a guy who I'd consider to be a superstar, but a major defensive upgrade, which the Raptors need, and an offensive threat in Serge Ibaka, who's maybe not the player he was in Oklahoma City, but I think what people forget is he was also in Oklahoma City when he was getting, over 3 blocks per game. He was playing with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. You may have heard of them. So playing with guys like that took attention off of him, and I think he was able to shine in Oklahoma City. Not necessarily the case in Orlando, where he was one of their best players. Not a bad thing. He's still a great player. He's still going to fit into the Raptors system really well. He addresses a lot of needs. He's going to push JV to be better. He makes that. He's just by his presence on the team is going to make Valanciunas more dangerous. He's going to stretch the floor. He's going to give them offense and everything. He's going to help them in all areas. But let's talk about what this means for the Raptors long term, because we know what we hope it means for the short term. The Raptors get into the playoffs. They make a long playoff run. They get back to the conference final, possibly NBA finals. That's what everybody wants in the short term. Long term, it means that if you sign Ibaka, because there's some people, if you've been in Canada, if you've been watching TSN and listening to people, what they're saying, there's some that say that this isn't just a rental deal. Which, regardless of whether you sign long term or whether it's a rental deal, there's still problems that it causes regardless. There's still issues. Okay? If they sign him long term, you're looking ultimately at being into the luxury tax, because you'd have Ibaka probably 20 to 25 million, and don't be surprised if he plays well in the playoffs. It would be more like upwards of 30 million. Kyle Lowry's probably going to get a max deal, which is the consensus. So you're looking at 30 to 35 million there. And I'd say out of him and Ibaka, with Kyle's track record, he probably deserves it. And then there's DeRozan, who's already signed. So it means that a guy like JV could be the odd man out. Now, for some people, that might not be that big of a deal. But when you acquire a guy like Serge Ibaka, and this shows that you're committed to winning now, even if you sign him long term, you're losing a guy that's been an asset for the last number of years. He's in JV. He's grown in Toronto. He's been, when he's been playing well, which he hasn't played great this year, but when he has been playing well, he's been the heart and soul of the team. In the playoffs last year, before he got hurt, he was a big reason why the Raptors were successful. So I don't like the idea of JV possibly leaving if it means you can sign Ibaka, even if Ibaka is a better rim protector, better rebounder, and probably equally good a scorer because, you know, Patrick Patterson is a free agent at the end of the year, so he's going to walk away. So you got to be careful about, how you re-sign Ibaka because it could cause more problems than it's worth. And just him being a rental player, if he's not going to re-sign, what are the odds that you can go out and get, another guy that's equally as good or better for the same amount of money or less? I mean, there's that problem. So, what I'm thinking is, you're probably going to lose somebody regardless of if you sign Ibaka. And I know there's a lot of people out there that want to see him sign long term. I want to see him sign long term. Who wouldn't? But let me throw this out there, and I hope you're still with me at this point. If Kyle Lowry is going to get a long-term deal, then you've already got DeRozan signed. You sign Ibaka, look at keeping Valanciunas, and maybe draft a point guard in the upcoming draft. And in the meantime, you've got Corey Joseph as the backup point guard, and you go out and try to find somebody that can, bridge the gap between Kyle Lowry possibly leaving, which nobody would want to see, but consider it to be a possibility, or, and then, you find somebody else in the meantime until you can develop your younger talent, because, either way you slice it, unless you, and we know the Raptors probably aren't done. I know they're kicking tires on guys like Gallinari and PJ Tucker's been mentioned as well. They're looking for another guy on the wing. That is almost guaranteed. Whether it'll happen or not, whether a move will happen or not remains to be seen. But with losing Terrance Ross, you kind of need, and even though you get Ibaka in return, they still need to add other pieces. So you could give up your young talent, more of your young talent for that, like a guy like Bruno Caboclo, who's sat on the bench most of the last 2 or 3 years. And if you've seen some of my other videos, I'm not really a fan of him. I thought he was drafted way too high, and they really haven't given him a chance in Toronto. Maybe some other team would want him. But you'd have to get something back in return. And same with Jakob Poeltl. And, I can't see them getting rid of Pascal Siakam or Lucas Nogueira, because those guys, even though they're young and inexperienced and maybe weak defensively right now, to me, they're the future of your team. So, the guys that are expendable, Poeltl, Caboclo, DeLon Wright, dare I say it, even a Norman Powell. You're also going to look at what's going to happen to Jared Sullinger, whether they're going to sign him long term. He's been injured, so that's why I really haven't brought him into the conversation, because we haven't really seen much of what he can do in a Raptors uniform. He may be the replacement for JV if they're going to get rid of JV long term, but it's all up in the air right now. So this is a great trade for the short term, but long term, you just got to ask more. It just brings up more questions. For me personally, guys, let me know what you think. I know I've rambled on for close to 10 minutes here. Hope you've stayed with me for this long, and hope you'll give the video a like and subscribe for more. So I'll see you next time.